Hey there, Pastor said. Real briefly with you today, I just want to share a few things with you regarding Palm Sunday and how Jesus came in on a donkey. Most of you know the story. Some of you probably never heard the story before. In Luke chapter 19, verse 29 through 31 or so, right around there, it talks about Jesus giving instruction to his disciples about going and finding this donkey, going and finding this colt, this mare, if you will, or a mule or donkey. And they went to find this colt, and the folks that own the donkey want to know, well, why do you want this donkey? What need do you have of it? Well, the reality was that Jesus is noted as a king, right? He's noticed as a king. And if you think about it for a moment, think about this. How would kings show up? Oh, let's ask, how would the president of the United States show up in your city? How would he come? He'd come in an Air Force One, right? How would the Queen of England show up? She'd come in her airplane. They wouldn't come on a bus. They wouldn't come on an automobile, like a lightweight automobile. They would come first class. Well, Jesus, King of Kings, right? King of Kings didn't come first class. He came on a donkey. Now, this particular donkey was a young one that hadn't been sat on before. And because it hadn't been sat on before, God knows how this donkey might have reacted, because it had never been sat on before. The scripture talks about it not being sat on, and then Jesus specifically said that that's the one he wanted to have. And so because of that, we've got a degree of humility working here, two ways. First of all, you've got an untrained, let's say untrained, or a young donkey, if you will. A young donkey that's not been sat on before, that's strong enough to hold Jesus up, because his disciples sat him on the donkey, right? And so strong enough to hold Jesus up. And because this donkey is strong enough to hold Jesus up and get him where he has to go, it's a very humbling thing for him to show up on a basically untrained donkey. One that hadn't been around as long as the other ones, of course. The other ones, of course, that are older, they would know how to act. They know how to respond because they've been ridden on before. They've had lots of stuff on their back at one time. But they're having, now this donkey is having a man on his back, and first time it's ever happened. What kind of response will a donkey have? Think about it for a moment. Jesus was able to ride this donkey, and the folks threw their clothes down. These folks began to holler and scream about how great he was, and their anticipation of Jesus being this king would probably be something like, okay, now we've seen him do miracles. We've seen him do signs and wonders. We've seen him heal the blind. We've seen him heal the sick. We've seen him raise the dead. We've seen him feed 5,000. We've seen him turn water into wine. We've seen Jesus do a lot of different things. I can't wait to see what he's going to do now. He's riding on a donkey, guys. He's riding on a donkey. His mode of transportation is something so much different than we would ever anticipate. And he's riding on a donkey, showing his humility. He's coming in peace. He's coming in peace. He's not coming in war like the other kings would come. These other kings would come on chariots. They would come on stallions. They would come in all kinds of highfalutin ways. Maybe would come in on some type of armor or something on. They would come with their teams of people. But Jesus comes on a donkey, humble before the people, as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, being our spiritual king, the one that lives in heaven today, that makes intercession for us. But he came at that point, being humble, on an animal that wasn't looked to be the one that any kind of king would show up on. Here's a point that you might want to take note of. You might be feeling as though you're walking in your life or working in your life, and you're working with something that's less than the best. It's like that donkey. It's not the thing that people expect you to have. It's like that donkey. You might not be driving the car you want to drive. It's like that donkey. You might not be living in the home you want to live in. It's like that donkey. You might not be up to speed on the education you thought you'd have by now. It's like that donkey. You might not be in a position where you're thinking that you can even relate to people like you want to relate to them right now. Like that donkey. My point is this, that Jesus demonstrated that no matter what he was riding on, no matter how he got to where he had to get to, just the fact that he can get there is all that mattered. He humbled himself to ride that donkey. He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose. And today we are in a position of our lives where we can change our attitude about what we're doing with the calling God's given us. If you're a Christian today, you're in a position of your life where you're saying, God, I'm not sure I'm even qualified. I'm riding on something I don't want to ride on. I'm dealing with something I don't want to deal with. I'm thinking differently than I ought to be thinking. I'm acting like I don't want to act, and I'm like that donkey, but I want to be like Jesus. I want to be humble. I want to recognize that you can get me where I've got to go no matter what I'm working with. God can work with you with whatever you're working with right now. He can take whatever, he can turn a little into a lot. He can turn a little into a lot if you let him do it. So what do you happen to be today? Are you a spot in life? Are you at a spot in life right now where you're saying to yourself, I want to turn a little into a lot? Well, don't do it yourself. Let God do it. Let God do it. Because that donkey was just that. The donkey was just a donkey, a young donkey, that inexperienced donkey, had not ever been in a crowd like that kind of donkey, had not had anybody on his back kind of donkey, had not experienced the pressure of that kind of situation as a donkey. That donkey hadn't done anything, hadn't proven itself in any regard. So the things that we fall short in, don't worry about it. Don't stress. Jesus has got your back. Jesus has got you. Jesus had that donkey delivering and working and walking and getting to where he had to go. Didn't talk about having a mess there. Didn't talk about having a problem there. Didn't talk about there was any challenge that donkey gave him. Didn't talk about that. But I'm talking about Jesus, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, coming that way. And the people jeering with excitement and grandeur and wanting to know this king was going to do a certain kind of thing in their lives. Well, the humility that they saw that day was a humility I believe that the Lord would want them to have today. Have at that time, rather. Would be the humility that he wants us to have today. Be humble in the sight of the Lord. Let him lift you up in his due season. Don't think that because you have it going on, you've got a more experienced situation for yourself, that's what's going to get you going. God's got a better plan. It's always a plan that involves humility. I trust that God would meet you right where you are today and bless you to be a humble person, realizing that no matter what your situation is, God's got your back. Hey, this is Pastor Seth, the entrepreneurial pastor. I'll be signing off right now, and we'll see you Easter Sunday. We've got a resurrection service at our church with some kids going to be doing some great things over there. We're looking forward to that. If you want to join us at 6251 Schaefer Avenue in Chino, California, that you'll be at Center Point Christian Fellowship. That's where we congregate every Sunday morning at 9:30 in the morning, right on the corner of Mountain and Schaefer in Chino, California. Hey, Pastor said sign off. We'll see you next time. Bless you. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you around.